Hi, my name is Clare. I'm from Papua New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is a country of diverse languages, with over 800 languages used there. I was born able to hear, and then at the age of 16, I lost my hearing, and now I identify as a deaf person. How about you? Thank you, Claire, for your introduction, and it's nice to meet you. My name is Shawn, and this is my sign name, which means eagle. I was born profoundly deaf, and my family is Malaysian-Chinese. We moved to Australia when I was just a baby at the age of 9 months. I grew up here in Australia, and I have a diverse range of language and cultural experiences. It's nice to meet you, Shawn. Thank you for being here. I have a question for you. How can you make a space or an environment culturally safe for a diverse range of people? That's a good question. And thinking about that, for myself, as a deaf Asian Australian, and also as a deaf person of colour, I feel that white people, white Australians, that is, or anyone who sees themselves as coming from the Western cultural world, needs to really look within themselves and understand their own white privilege. And as a white person, what biases, prejudices, and opinions that they hold that need to be removed to broaden their minds and to show deaf people and hearing people with other disabilities from a different culture love and kindness and mercy and compassion, as well as sympathy or empathy. They need to understand that we are people, we are human like everyone else, regardless of our culture, our religion, our identity, or anything else. White people in Australia need to stop thinking that white people are superior to people of colour. We are all equal. Likewise, people who are hearing need to see people with a disability and deaf people as not inferior to them. They are not superior. We are all equal. Cultural safety is about open and respectful communication, being able to build a good rapport, and not jumping to conclusions and making assumptions or decisions for people with a disability or for deaf people or for people of colour as to what they need. It's best not to allow people who are white and without a disability just to jump ahead and make decisions on behalf of these groups, but to consult, to recognize and accept our opinions, to recognize that we want to be accepted, we want to be affirmed, not excluded. And that is not easy. It's a very difficult topic to unpack. Thank you, Shawn. You expressed yourself beautifully. From my perspective, I notice that people tend to judge a person based on the color of their skin, and they make a judgment immediately. Those judgments are based on appearance first, and I think that's wrong. It's discriminatory. It makes me feel like withdrawing. I think it's important that people are open-minded, knowing where people come from, not just thinking about the color of their skin or their religion. And I think it's important to recognize or acknowledge that we should be open-minded and welcoming. For instance, I've come from a third world country to Australia to study, and there can be an assumption of people who come from a third world country that their English skills are poor. And it's important to make the environment safe for someone like me an international student from a third world country, it's important to listen and observe and learn from me. Really pause and listen and observe. That can help a person be open-minded, and that makes me feel safe. That helps me to develop confidence, to be able to stand up and express myself in my way. I grew up communicating mostly orally, and then I developed my Auslan skills. So sometimes I'm not really confident using Auslan. I can feel nervous when I'm standing in front of people and presenting. But if they sit and really listen to me, it helps me build confidence. Like you said, empathy is really important, and that helps me build confidence. And then it feels like a safe space. A safe space is when I'm listened to without judgment, not being judged based on where I come from, the language I use, my educational background, or even being from a poorer country. It's safe when you're listened to and observed with an open mind. Claire, thank you for sharing your experience with me. For me, as a deaf Malaysian, Chinese, Asian Australian, I think it's important for hearing and or white people to give us the opportunity to do the work and the activities, to have the opportunities to be a success, not to exclude us, to include us in team meetings or group activities on an equal footing. That's really important. I think humans just want to be accepted and included, not isolated and alone. This can severely impact your mental health. The next question I'd like to ask is, why is representation important for you in the community? And what content would you like the audience to understand about you? Well, I think representation is really important. As human beings, we are born with purpose. So representation means I have purpose. For example, I'm Papua New Guinean, I'm a woman, I'm deaf, I'm black, and I'm here in a multicultural country with people of diverse backgrounds. So when I see someone who is like me, who's black, who may come from Africa, or maybe if someone sees you being from Malaysia, I can feel proud, I can feel confident and stand up for myself because they represent me. I can stand up and develop my skills through university and through meeting a diverse range of people from different backgrounds and cultures. Representation to me is very important because it can transform who I am, why I'm here, and what I am doing here. Also, I am an international student, so I am here representing people from back home in Papua New Guinea. There may be young deaf people like me there thinking about their future, and they can see me here mixing with people of different backgrounds and cultures. And that can help them develop their confidence rather than feeling oppressed. Representation is important. They can see me as a black woman from their own country in Brisbane, Australia, and that can inspire them and give them more confidence to stand up for themselves. So representation is really important. As a deaf woman, as a black person, as a student, I think it's important for deaf people to recognize who they are. And perhaps in looking at me, they can see that they can do it as well. How about you? That's interesting, Claire. Thank you for sharing your experience with me. For me, representation is really important. Many organisations run programs or activities where they call on white deaf Australians to provide feedback on their services, activities, or supports, but they don't ask deaf people of colour or deaf First Nations people to provide feedback about culturally safe or culturally friendly services. And that's really unfortunate. Representation seems to be focused more on white Australians, white hearing and white deaf Australians, but not a diverse range of people, including people of colour. And at the same time, we have an issue with Auslan, and that is cultural appropriation. I think it's important for hearing people, including oral and hard of hearing people, to learn sign language from deaf people. That is important because deaf people have the lived experience of being deaf and using sign language and can articulate the frustrations and the traumas that they've had, but also how they've maneuvered through difficulties and had successes. Hearing people can't explain those things. So it's important to balance representation with different groups' backgrounds. I think deaf people of colour should have a voice in the community, in Australian organisations, in providing feedback about services, and in advertisements too. Many deaf people of colour tell me that many Auslan teachers and Auslan courses are full of white people. It doesn't feel culturally safe. There should be a diverse range of cultures. It's important to be open-minded and respectful because many deaf people like myself have already experienced language deprivation, not being taught sign language from young. So it's important to be open-minded and listen. Auslan is such a rich language. It's like a 3D or 4D language. It's best learned in person, not from a book or from YouTube or from the internet, but in person with others. And we as the deaf community are successful, we are resilient, but at the same time, we as deaf people want all other hearing people to treat us with dignity. We are humans. We're not robots. Please think about that. That's true. I also think that when the community is inclusive by having representation, and really the community is where representation matters, people will feel empowered. They will feel more confident, more courageous than they did before. When the community is inclusive of people from a variety of walks of life, like language and cultural background, or from third world countries, when it's more inclusive, people can become the person they want to be. When it's inclusive, they can express themselves freely to each other. Yes. And as you know, I am from Malaysia, and Malaysia is a poorer nation. It's a third world country or a developing nation. And that means that the services in Malaysia for people who are deaf or have a disability are not as good as they are here in Australia. So my parents moved here. They wanted a better future for me, and they knew that I could get excellent services here, better access to interpreting and sign language. But of course, there's no perfect place in the world. There are strengths and weaknesses, positives and negatives everywhere. That's true. I remember when I first moved to Brisbane, I didn't know who I was. I was a black deaf woman, and I didn't know what my true language was. I had language confusion, but representation helped me to develop confidence with time. I would see people from different cultural backgrounds, and they gave me confidence to find out who I really was. And that's what helped me build my skills in Auslan. My language was diverse, but now I knew which was my true language, that being Auslan, and that I could use English along with it. So I felt more courageous and more empowered than I had before. And that's because representation helped me recognize who I am. Yes, thank you for sharing your experience, Claire. For those of you in the audience watching, I wanted to share something I thought is important. It's something my parents taught me. Don't forget your cultural background. Don't forget your roots and your ancestors. If you are here in Australia, still remember your cultural roots. Remember who you are and remain flexible and adaptable. Thank you for watching us. Thank you all. And thank you, Shawn. Thank you, Claire. Bye.